Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. And it's time for Tea with Sue. Welcome. Oh, it's been a week. Construction and reconstruction has been on my mind because when I look out my window in my office and I look out my balcony door, the whole front of things is just torn right off. There's scaffolding blocking my view, and they've put netting around to keep out the wind and the rain, and hopefully if there's snow, well, it'll keep that out too. And they've capped the roof parts so no rain gets on there. And of course I'm fascinated by the deconstruction that needs to happen in order to put something new on the face of the building. So I thought it was kind of a cool metaphor for life and how when we come into this world, we're always under construction in some way, shape, or form, right? So when I think about how we grow and how we go, there are points in our lives, usually significant, either time frames or event-wise, that cause us to look at what's going on in our lives and say, whoa, how's it going? Is this making me happy, or am I not so happy with where I'm at in my life? So I know when I turned 21, I felt vastly different than I had as a teenager. And I was working in an industry and doing the kind of work that didn't really suit me all that well. So I had to have a good think about it. So there's lots of times when we rethink the path we're going down. We examine it from every angle and say, well, what's working and what did work, what doesn't work, what's not going to work. And then if we're kind of with it, we do what we can do to make adjustments. We learn more, we ask for help, we do whatever it is that's required. And then we change, we transform, so something new happens. So not unlike going to the clothing store and saying, I need a new look, I need a new wardrobe, and I want to change how I am. So let's face it, the bell bottoms that I wore and the excuse me, and the hot pants and the go-go boots of the 70s, well, I'm not doing that now. And I think that's a good thing. It was fun while it lasted, but I think that's a good thing. So there's this transformation that goes along. And even though as humans, we fight change, I still haven't figured out why we fight it, because it is inevitable, right? The best thing we can do really is to surrender to change and say, well, it's coming along anyway, I might as well participate and make the changes that are going to work to my benefit, rather than just allowing the winds of change to knock me about and push me here and push me there and sometimes just bowl me over. So there's a lot of rethinking that needs to go on when we're continually under construction, and especially when we get to new phases. And fortunately, we all come to periods in our lives where things are running kind of smoothly and we say, this is good, I've reached this point. And then because we're wired to grow, we're wired to create, these little tidbits of dissatisfaction might settle in and say, well, this has been good, but I'd like a little more. And fair game, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm very attracted to bright, shiny objects and new things and new opportunities. And I've been that way all my life. And there were times when I go, so what are you thinking? And so then I need to change my mind and say, maybe not that anymore. So it's this rethinking phase. And then, of course, if we're wanting something new, we want to renew whatever's been going on, make it new again. There's a rebuilding process that goes on. And just like good construction projects, if they're wanting to renovate, then they tear out all the old stuff that doesn't belong anymore. You know, they've torn out boards out here, and they took my balcony railings off because they're going to replace them with new railings, and they pulled up all the flooring, and I'm going, yay, I don't have to wash that grubby flooring outside anymore. So they're just, well, of course, it's funny how just the natural thing in deconstructing something is then you dispose of it. You get rid of it. It's garbage. And oh, obviously in this day and age, we repurpose whatever we can. I think they're probably going to repurpose the brickwork that they're taking down out there. But there's lots of it that just flat out needs to go in the garbage. But as humans, how often when we're in the transformation process and wanting something new, do we still cling to what we've had? We cling to the old, even though it no longer serves us. Now, come on, I know some of you have a t-shirt in your closet somewhere or a drawer that you've had since you were 12, and it still fits and it's full of holes and maybe pretty grubby looking, but oh, it's my favorite t-shirt. It's so soft. I love it. You have no room for new clothes, right? And you can't even really justify new stuff because you have all this old stuff hanging around. So then it's time for a purge, right? It's time to say, all right, if we're going to make way for the new, yes, there's a little mourning process that goes on where you feel sad, and depending on what it is that you're disposing of, you might feel really, really, really sad. Well, feel that and grieve that, and but also cherish what that gave you, even if it was relationships. There's a perfect example. We'll mourn the death of a relationship, and sometimes in order to find the energy to let go of that relationship, we pull in anger to facilitate that change. But then when the anger is gone, and that's part of the grieving process too, because things obviously maybe didn't last as long as you'd hoped or work out the way you did, or maybe the two of you didn't get along in the way you wanted to, well, then you grieve the loss. You grieve the loss of the future hope, the comfort that you did find when you were together, and you celebrate all of the things that were good in that scenario and say, wow, because of this. So as part of this rebuilding process, one of the, I guess, favorite pastimes that we have is to pick out all our mistakes. Oh, well, I shouldn't have made that decision. I shouldn't have gone there. That's too bad I did that. Why did I do that? And we self-flagellate, right? We beat ourselves up for doing it the way we did it. When in fact, we did it the way we did it because that's the only way we knew how to do it. Could we have done more research? Could we have decided differently? Well, sure, we could have if we had known, but we didn't know. And even if we did know and we were determined to do it anyway, obviously we must have wanted the experience of that, or we wouldn't have gone down that path. So I think it's better if we look at what we label or view as a mistake or a failure more as a learning. And it's in its simplified form, it's just consequences of our actions, right? We decided this, we took this action, and we got this consequence. Now, I don't know about you, but there's been lots of times I'm going, oh, I didn't want that consequence. I didn't think it was going to be like that. And we have regrets about that because it didn't take us where we wanted to go. But let's face it, when we go back to the history of Edison and the light bulb, he experimented 1,000 times and then he got the light bulb. Well, did he make 1,000 mistakes? No, he just he just didn't invent the light bulb 1,000 times is really what all that was happening. He said, well, somewhere here there's a light bulb, and 1,000 times there was no light bulb. That was all that was happening. It wasn't that he was making mistakes, but he was learning each time he did. He was refining his process. All right, I got a hair here. And so that's the approach that we need to take, because life is an experiment, right? We don't always know. In fact, lots of times we don't know what the outcome of a certain decision and a certain course of action is going to be. There's some way to predict to a certain extent, but crazy things can happen. If you've ever been on a golf course, you know that the oddest and weirdest things can happen. I had my brothers golfing one day, and a big crow came and dropped down out of the sky and snatched their golf balls. You go, what? So unpredictable, right? Well, that's the other part of life, is that things are unpredictable. So we do our best to plan it out and do what we can to have it go in the direction that we want to. But of course, the beauty lots of times of it not going in exactly the way we planned was we get new adventures that are even better than what the plan was. All right. Now, there's no question that the blueprint for a building, it's very important that everybody follows all of the intricacies and the lines on the blueprint to make sure that the building is stable. And to a certain extent, we need to do the same. But as humans, we have a little more leeway. We have some flexibility in that, and our choices can go in a variety of directions. So we want to pay attention to that. And in that reconstruction process, say, all right, let's take the general idea, move in the direction that we feel we want to move, and then we get whatever our results are. And of course, if some of the results aren't quite right, well, then we fine tune, we come back and, you know, put another layer of paint on something, or rewire or whatever. Well, with us as humans, this is largely an inside job. Yes, we can do some physical things in our environment to make these shifts and make these changes, but so much of the rethinking and the deconstruction, the reconstruction, the rebuild starts inside of us, is part of that. So maybe you have old programs you need to replace with new ones that are going to serve you. Maybe there are old ideas that you've clung to forever. Lots of our ancestors clung to the idea that the earth was flat. Well, at some point, somebody said, I don't believe that. And they started tossing out those old ideas and set about proving that the earth was round, not flat. So we do that in our own heads lots of times. Well, I thought it was this way, but really it's not. So I mentioned earlier that often we go through significant points in our lives when we're face to face with a big opportunity to redo whatever. I guess we'll call it a do-over. You can do over your life. And of course, at any moment in the day, you can have a do-over, right? You don't need to stick with the path you're on just because that's the path you're on. You can change, and you change your mind, then you change your decisions and your desires. And then of course you go ahead and make something new happen. So of course there are other moments. Everybody talks about the significant age-related moments. Well, when I turned 21, or when I hit 30, or hit 40 or 50, and all of these crises that can come along because our identity is shifting, and who we see ourselves as is changing. So, and significant moments in our lives, those 2x4 experiences that just are like that. And I think of probably the biggest reconstruction project I ever had was after near death and after cancer when I was in my 60s. Oh my goodness, it was just like the building was crumbled and collapsed, and there's all this debris and rubble that I'm trying to sift through, and I don't even have a vision for what the new structure is going to look like. It took me a long time. I'm not sure if it needs to take a long time, but it took me a long time to work through that process, to clear all the old debris, and it was heavy shoveling sometimes. You know, I had to just put my back into it and get rid of stuff that just heavy lifting, right? So then, of course, when I have this clear space, I'm going, well, now what? Now what do I do with it? I feel kind of blank. I don't know who I am anymore. The old seems to have gone, and I've mourned to a certain extent, and I've celebrated where I came from, and there's pieces I kind of wish I could have back. But what do I do now? And that was when so when I look at the rethink and the rebuild and the renewing, it's a back and forth process, because you might have an idea at the outset of where you think you want to go, but then there's all this stuff in the way that you got to get rid of. And so then you go back and then you clear that all out, and then you get to re-explore, well, do I want that I had an idea for before, or do I need to change it, add to it, take away from it? You know, what do I need to do? So this is a lot of work, right? And in the meantime, you're doing what you're doing to put food on the table and keep a roof over your head and all this kind of thing. but this is your life. This is worth doing. Don't wait. Life goes by too darn fast, and every day counts, and every moment counts. And I guess these days I'm all about, well, how do I find that inner peace, that recipe for happiness, that what is it that I want in my life that brings me the most joy, that brings me that effervescence, that zest for life? How do I not only have the embers of it and the little spark, but how do I nurture it and keep it going and keep it growing? I know that we have this old notion that if something good happens, surely, inevitably, something bad will follow. So we're waiting for the proverbial shoe to drop. I think that's counterproductive, because if I have a really excellent day or an excellent few days, why do I have to have some terrible ones to balance it off? Why would I not just get used to, well, that was a good day. Oh, maybe I can make tomorrow even better. Because it is up to you, ultimately. You're the one that decides if it's going to be a good day or not. You're the creator, and it's up to you to make that happen, regardless of circumstances, regardless of what's going on in your life. That inner you that holds that spark is what's important. You know you can do this. You are magnificent enough to rethink, rebuild, and renew your life. So I want to encourage you to just go for it. Until next week, enjoy your week, enjoy yourself. And in the meantime, if you're enjoying Tea with Sue, please subscribe to the channel. You can always share it with someone else that you think might enjoy it. And we'll look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.